Charlie.
Hi.
So I think this might be more of a point of clarification than a legitimate disagreement. So you started off your talk by saying that you oppose science insofar as it stands in the way of nature or it sort of rewrites nature, right? Is that like an accurate representation of your point, or?
It can.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl and Nephew Scholar. Today we are back again with another video from Kirk. So today, Kirk debates college students on science versus nature. So guys, without further ado, let's get started.
Charlie.
Hi.
So I think this might be more of a point of clarification than a legitimate disagreement. So you started off your talk by saying that you oppose science insofar as it stands in the way of nature or it sort of rewrites nature, right? Is that like an accurate representation of your point, or?
It can cause a lot of damage, and not done under the proper moral framework. It's been one of the great killers of modern humanity. Obvious with, there's been phenomenal breakthroughs in modern medicine, but continue with your question. So.
That was actually my question, actually.
Oh, okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you could take, for example, so let's kind of just go back to how science was administered through things that we take for granted, right? So, for example, Sir Isaac Newton, right? Force equals mass times acceleration. An object at rest will stay at rest. For every action is equal and opposite reaction, right? He was a phenomenal Christian, wrote a lot about biblical prophecy, and looked at nature as a way to explore God's creation for an intended purpose. And so it's all a question of what is the intent, right? So I'll give you a great example. If the intent is to allow human beings to flourish, then I'm all for it. What's an example of that? How about a cesarean section? What an awesome medical breakthrough over the last 100 years.
Yeah.
A cesarean section is, of course, a C-section. Without getting too graphic, it's a way through medical intervention and progress to save human life with that intended purpose. Now, obviously, you have to have an incision. You have to be able to, have the proper medication so that, the woman doesn't feel it. It's the most common medical procedure now done in America today. And so I'm all for scientific breakthroughs and progress, but that's with the intent of saving a human life, right? Properly administered, a C-section is life-giving, right? When you look at other things, there is no life-giving nature to abortion. So you look at two very complex surgical procedures. One's an abortion,
But
one's a cesarean section. Both
procedures.
require a doctor, they require, medication, they require breakthroughs, but they have two completely different moral premises. One to give life and one to take life away. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And speaking of abortion, I did have a sort of separate question,
Sure.
if you don't mind. Yeah. So you sort of touched on abortion from a moral or philosophical standpoint in your talk. From a political or cultural standpoint, how do you see the debate playing out in the mid to long term? Who do you think wins in the long term?
That's a smart question. I've given this advice to conservatives, which is you have to be realistic about it. In certain states, in certain areas, it's not a winning issue. Maybe in a longer period of time, we could do our work and we could persuade people. But if you're trying to get political power or win an election, you've got to be realistic about whether or not you think that is going to win people over. And so some people say, Charlie, you should talk about the issue all the time. Well, then how are you ever going to get political power to actually fix the issue, right? I mean, at some point, you got to be prudent about this. But I think the left is going to see a surge of support. I think that's going to happen. They're going to see a lot of money come in, a lot more activists. And then I think we as pro-lifers are going to get reorganized, see where we have to go. And I think we have to go on a multi-decade, multi-generation tour, campaign, project of getting into the deep moral and philosophy of it, entertaining questions, doing events. Because here's the one thing I could tell you is that most people that are pro-abortion have really not heard the best defense of life from a moral standpoint, a biological standpoint, and a scientific standpoint. But it's going to be a battle, man. And I think you're going to end up seeing kind of red state, blue state abortion centers across the country where California is poised to make abortion a constitutional right. And you're going to see a lot of that kind of interstate travel and all that kind of stuff. So that's my prediction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that was amazing. I mean, if we talk about science, there are so many disadvantages when it comes to the modern medication, the modern science, because when it comes to science focus on the solution, how to solve it, doesn't really focus on the moral aspects of it. So when he just made that comparison between CS and the abortion, CS, yes, is a scientific procedure, is a medical procedure that helps to, the intention is to give life, and it's safe, and it's the advantage as it is, so it's like 100%. let me say 90% like 90% advantage, and it has really helped, childbearing, let me say, easy and less painful, because and fast, sometimes if you want to go to bed in the natural way, that's the SVD, you're gonna take, sometimes you take like 4 hours in labor, 6 hours in labor, the struggle, the water break, all the pains, the dilations. Come on, it's stress. But with the CS, it has made child labor very easy, faster, and it's cool. So when you look at the science in that way, you can see the advantages as much. But when you look at abortion is the same thing. The same thing. If you the same procedure compared to the CS, it's the same. It uses the surgical procedure, the medical procedure, the medication, whatever you want to say it. But when you look at it in the moral aspect, you see it to be a two different issue, But science is science. Science doesn't care about the morality. So if you want to, look at that moral aspect, then I think, especially when it comes to, when you go to the hospital, let's use this blood transfusion as an example. Blood transfusion is a scientific procedure that is really helpful. It gives life, Someone loses blood, you need to transfuse blood to another person for him to heal, or to get healthy, to give life, let me put it that way. But when it comes to that some religious belief doesn't really believe that is a healthy thing or is a good thing for them to do. So people do refuse it. But it is science. So when you look at science will tell you, they will tell, doctors will convince you how efficient it is, how important you need to give the blood. But so when it comes to science doesn't really care about the morality aspect of it. What it cares about, the solution, and it has really helped humanity. The same way when it comes to the morally, it's really killing us. It's really killing peace. It's really killing us. Because science doesn't really believe in a whole lot of things that morality will believe, or let me say, science really go against or opposes so many morality when it comes to life. But then when we look at it in a scientific way, it has really helped mankind. Who is mankind without science? Like, how could we have survived all these years without modern medication, modern treatments, all these scientific procedures, all the surgical procedures, all these, scientific things? How could we have survived all these years without it? We couldn't have. We couldn't have. But when we are looking at the morality aspect, nature cannot do it. So nature came before science, But then how life has been and how life is going now, we cannot depend solely on nature. Like, let's say, orthodox medication, going out, plugging herbs and healing ourselves. Like, it will take time, effort, but because of science, everything, medication, everything is easy. And that, let's even use the CS he even spoke about, for example. So many people cannot give birth through the SVDs, So the best option is the CS. And even though we are going strictly to the nature, which everybody should give birth through SVD, that is a spontaneous vaginal delivery, we would have killed a lot, the stress alone, the waste of time alone, and the CS is faster, and even though it's demands cutting, it's still safe and sound, and people really choose CS over the SVD more times, So I think science has its own disadvantage, but I think the advantages exceed it all. That's for me. The advantages really exceed it all, because we couldn't have done it without it. Science, we couldn't have. The nature always focus about the morality. Science opposes morality. Science does not care about the morals. It only cares about how it's going to solve the issue at hand. And I think within all these years, for 100 years, for 1,000 years, we couldn't have done without that. So yeah, I think no matter how we oppose the science, no matter how we stand against science, it has really helped us. It really came to help us in so many ways. And I'm not saying it doesn't have its disadvantage. It has its own it has in its own a lot of disadvantages. But I think so for us it's helping humanity. What do you have to say? We keep it in touch. Let me know what you think about this video. Do you have any suggestion, or this is my perspective towards science and nature? Let me know what you also think about science and nature. Let me know what that science has done more good than harm in our lives. Let me know. And if you have any experience about how science is treating us, how nature has treated us so far, let me know in the comment section. If you want me to check more of this video, let me know in the comment section. And if you have any recommendation for me too, don't forget to leave down. And if you are new to my channel, welcome, and don't forget to click on the subscription button for more notifications. Thanks for watching.